We continue now at the top of Daf Kuf Samech Gimel Amid Beis in Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 163b. On the previous Amid, the Gemara quoted Rav. Rav says that no matter how much space you have between the signature of the witnesses and the signature of the judges, let's say there's a judge's certification on the bottom of the document, as long as there's blots of ink that fill that space, so there's nothing that can be written in over there, that is not going to be a problem, and that will be a kosher document. And so the Gemara asked on the previous Amid a contradiction, because Rav also says that if you erase something and you have the text of the document and also the signatures of the witnesses on erased paper, that would be a kosher document. So we should be concerned in this situation where there's a large amount of space between the signature of the witnesses and the signature of the judges, the certification of the judges on the bottom. Maybe you'll just cut off the entire top part of the shtar, and then you'll erase that ink that's on the top of the shtar above the judge's certification, and then you'll just write a new document and sign new witnesses, and now you'll have a judge's certification on the bottom, and so that would be an easy way to commit a forgery according to Rav. And so that's the question on Rav. And the Gemara now continues and says, Hanichol Rav Kahana demasni lo mishmei de Shmuel Shaper. Now it's good according to Rav Kahana, because Rav Kahana says it's not Rav that says that you can write a document with the witnesses' signatures on erased paper. It's actually Shmuel that says that, so it's not a contradiction then within Rav. And the Rashbam explains, Hanichol Rav Kahana demasni lo loha dehu ve'edav ala mechak mishmei de Shmuel. Rav Kahana says that this halacha, that if the text of the document and the witnesses are on an erased portion of the parchment, that's in the name of Shmuel, that's kosher. It's not in the name of Rav. So ikol amemar de Rav have a possible. Then we could say, according to Rav, if you write a document on erased paper, it actually would be possible. It would be disqualified v'lo tikshel Rav, and then we won't have a question on Rav. So that works out according to Rav Kahana, who again says this is in the name of Shmuel. Elul Rav Tivyume, but according to Rav Tivyume, demasni lo mishmei de Rav, who learns it in the name of Rav that it's kosher to write a document, to write a contract on erased paper. So ma'ikol amemar. So what are we going to say? And the Rashbam explains, Elul Rav Tivyume v'hach kasha b'chol hashtaros sheyesh bu henpik. The Rashbam notes over here, this difficulty actually is true by all shtaros that have a henpik, that have a judge's certification, even if there is no space that's filled with ink. Yachol lahakshos, we could just ask the same question. Ve'afilu heicha deleka shnei shitin cholak, even if you don't have two lines that are blank, bein edim l'shtar asharta, between the signature of the witnesses and the certification of the judges. Sharei yachol l'zayif kol shtar elyon. This is just a general question. Why not just forge the entire upper part by erasing it and writing whatever you want? Kol shtar elyon imho edim. You go ahead and you erase everything that's up above together with the witnesses. V'lichto v'lachsom ala mechak ma sheyirtze, and then just write and sign whatever you want on the erased paper. If in fact Rav says you can write a document on paper that's been erased, as long as the witnesses and the text of the document are all on that erased paper, that's okay according to Rav. So again, it's a question anytime you have a situation with a judge's certification on the bottom. And the Gemara continues and answers, Kasava Rav holds, Kol ki hai gavna, anytime you have a situation of a shtar that's written on erased paper, let's say you have the document itself and the signature of the witnesses on paper that's been erased one time, but in such situations, ein mekaymen oso minho asharta shabo, you're not allowed to certify it, you cannot use the judge's certification in such a situation, ela minho edim shabo, rather you have to certify the actual witnesses again because of this precise concern. And so that's why Rav says it's actually okay if you would have blank space that's filled with ink between the signature of the witnesses and the signature of the judges. It's not a problem, because you wouldn't be able to use the signature of the judges anyhow if the document and the witnesses are on erased paper. And the Rashbam explains, and we answer, Kasava Rav holds, Kol ki agavna kolomar kol shtar sheyesh bo henpik. What it means to say is, any shtar that has a judge's certification, v'hu ve'edav ala mechak, and then the text of the document and the signature of the witnesses is on paper that's already been erased once, lo samchinan asharta, we would not rely on the certification. We would only say that that shtar is certified if we recognize the signature of the witnesses that's on the erased part of the paper. And therefore, if you again have two blank spaces from the certification to the signature of the witnesses, milmala, that's above it, and then again you fill it in with ink, kosher, that would be kosher. And we actually would rely on the asharta in that case, as long as you're not writing it on erased part of the parchment. punishment to halok sivi hu ve'edav ala mechak, because it's not actually written again on the erased part. The name of Makiyai Gavna ein mekaymen, because again, if it's on the erased part, you wouldn't use the certification of the judges. Ubezin atziyuta lo chasimu. We don't have to worry that the court is simply signing to the fact that this part of the paper was blotted with ink, because that bezin would never do. They're certainly signing on the main part of the shtar that we said on the previous Amud Ella Ikar Hashtar. They're certainly signing on the main part of the shtar. Hilkach kosher hashtar v'asharta. Therefore, in such a situation, again, even with that blank space between the signature of the witnesses and the signature of the judges, the shtar would be kosher. As long as there's ink that's between there, everything would be kosher. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yochanan Amar, and Rabbi Yochanan says, Lo shanu ela bein ha'edim l'chsav. When we say that it's possible if you have two blank lines between the text and the signature of the witnesses, that's only true if it's blank between the text and the signature of the witnesses. Aval bein edim la'asharta. But if you have blank space between the signature of the witnesses and the certification of the judges, Rabbi Yochanan goes in the other direction and says we have to be more stringent. Afilu shita achas possible. Even if it's just one line of blank space, it is possible, it's disqualified. And the Gemara says, Ma'ishna ben edim la'asharta. Now, what's the difference? In the situation where it's the space between the witnesses and the asharta and the signature of the judges, so what's the concern? Dil magayiz le'iloi. The concern is, maybe he'll cut off everything that's above. V'chasavu ve'edav b'shita achas. And then he's going to write the text of the document and sign the witnesses all on one line. You'll write a short little amount of text and sign witnesses all on one line, and you'll have the signature of the judges right below. V'kasavar, and he holds, Rabbi Yochanan holds, shtar haba hu ve'edav b'shita achas kosher. He holds that if you have a document with the text and the witnesses on one line, it's kosher, and therefore it's problematic even to have one line of blank space. That's what Rabbi Yochanan says. But the Gemara says if that's the case, if so, bein edim l'chsav nami, between the witnesses and the text of the document also, we should have the same concern if it's just one line between them. Dil magai is leili loy, maybe he'll cut off everything that's above. V'chasav mai deboy v'chasimi sahadi, he'll write whatever he wants on that one line, and he'll have the signature of the witnesses right below. And the Gemara says to that, Kasav Rabbi Yochanan holds, shtar habohu b'shita achas ve'edav b'shita acheres. If you have a document where the text is on one line and the edim are on the next line, puzzle, that actually is disqualified. So that's why in that situation, if you would have a situation of one line between the text of the document and the signature of the witnesses, that actually would be okay, because even if you write a new text, you cut off the top and you write a new text on that one line, but you have the text of the document and the edim are on a different line, you have it on two separate lines, that would be disqualified. It wouldn't be an issue that the person would do that. But in the situation where you have a signature of the judges with one line, that could be a problem, because then what he'll do is he'll write the text of the document and sign witnesses all on the same line, which is kosher, and then he will have the judge's certification right below. But the Gemara continues, V'leichush, but still we should be concerned in a situation where there's one line of space between the text of the document and the signature of the witnesses, we should still be concerned. Dil makasav hu ve'edav b'shita achas, that maybe what he'll do is as follows. He'll cut off the whole top part of the document, he'll write on that one line, he'll write a new text of the document, and he'll write signatures on that line, and he'll essentially have two sets of signatures. He'll have a set of signatures on that one line, and then a set of signatures right below. V'yamran, he'll just say, Anol rabos be'edim, I just did that because I wanted an increase in the number of witnesses. I wanted more witnesses. Nothing wrong with having additional witnesses, and so it should still be a concern, even if you have one line of blank space between the text and the signature of the witnesses. And the Gemara says to that, Kasavar, he holds, Rabbi Yochanan holds, Kol ki hai gavna, anytime you have a situation where you have a lot of witnesses, you have some witnesses on the same line, if it's a one-line text, and you have some witnesses below, so he holds, Ein mekaymen oso min ha'edim shalamato, ela min ha'edim shalamala. When you certify that document, you cannot certify it using the edim that are below. You have to certify it using the edim that are above on that same line as the text. And so therefore it's no concern in that situation, because even if he writes the text, he cuts off the whole top of the document, writes the text, adds some witnesses, we're not going to rely on the lower witnesses, we're only going to rely on the new witnesses, and he'll have to certify those witnesses, so it will not be a problem. And the Gemara continues, Gufa, returning to what we said above, Amar Rav says, Shtar habohu ve'edav ala mechak kosher. If you have a document and the document itself and the witnesses are all signed on erased paper, let's say there was something there and it was all erased one time and then you wrote the document and signed witnesses, that is still kosher. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Samech Dalid Amud Aleph.